Muy buen día a todos. Sean bienvenidos al DHL Transportation Forum 2022. Estoy muy feliz de poder estar con ustedes por primera vez en este espacio, donde nos reunimos para compartir experiencias, conocimientos y la visión a futuro de nuestro sector de la mano de nuestros clientes y de nuestros proveedores. Soy Mariana Villanueva, gerente del equipo de diseño de soluciones de DHL Supply Chain México. Quiero dar la bienvenida también a Sergio, quien nos ha acompañado en todas las ediciones anteriores. Bienvenido, Sergio.
Bom dia, galera. Sejam bem-vindos ao DHL Transportation Forum 2022. And good morning, everyone. Welcome to our 2022 edition of the DHL Transportation Forum. Muchísimas gracias, Mariana. Es un placer para mí compartir este espacio contigo. Yo soy Sergio Morales, director de Desarrollo de Negocios para DHL Supply Chain México. Un placer estar aquí con ustedes.
Los últimos meses y años, el entorno mundial nos ha traído constantemente y como nunca antes nuevos desafíos. La resiliencia, adaptabilidad y capacidad de aprendizaje se han vuelto las herramientas para hacer frente a todos estos retos. Por eso hemos preparado una agenda donde abarcaremos temas de actualidad que seguramente serán de utilidad para todos ustedes.
Para todos aquellos que nos siguen en la transmisión en línea, todas las conferencias estarán disponibles en 3 canales de audio: español, portugués e inglés. Solamente deben elegir el idioma de su preferencia en el botón que se encuentra en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Igualmente, la agenda del evento completo estará disponible en el sitio web que se despliega en su pantalla en estos momentos.
Pues sin más por el momento, ¿qué te parece, Sergio, si arrancamos la agenda de este primer día del DHL Transportation Forum 2022? Tenemos por delante un día muy interesante y creo que muchos están ansiosos porque arranquemos con las sesiones.
Estoy completamente de acuerdo contigo, Mariana. Este año hemos organizado una agenda muy nutrida con líderes de distintos sectores para conversar sobre la visión de futuro, los retos actuales y cuáles son los casos de éxito en el transporte, en los negocios y en nuestra región.
Como lo mencionaba hace unos momentos, la adaptabilidad ha sido parte fundamental para todas las industrias este año. Todas las empresas lo han tenido que vivir de una o de otra manera. DHL Supply Chain no es la excepción.
Y aún con todos estos cambios, hoy seguimos fuertes y listos para los nuevos retos que puedan venir. Pero nada de esto hubiera sido posible sin los más de 500 socios transportistas que forman e integran la red de transporte más grande de México, la red de DHL Supply Chain. Demos un gran aplauso desde sus locaciones a todos los que formamos parte de esta gran familia. Muchísimas gracias.
También queremos invitarlos a compartir en sus redes sociales esta experiencia, ya sea fotos del evento, temas que quieran conversar, todas las opiniones suman.
Agreguen el hashtag DHLTF2022 en sus publicaciones para que podamos seguir todas las conversaciones y compartirlas también en nuestra red. Y ya con toda la anticipación, ¿qué te parece, Mariana, si damos paso a nuestro primer ponente?
Me encanta la idea. Para iniciar, quiero que le demos la bienvenida a Alastair Shooter, vicepresidente global de transporte de DHL Supply Chain, a este foro. Nos enlazaremos hasta el Reino Unido con él, quien nos compartirá las tendencias globales en el transporte.
Esta sesión será en inglés, pero les recordamos que pueden seleccionar el audio de la traducción simultánea al español y al portugués en la parte inferior de su pantalla.
Alastair es un profesional de la cadena de suministro con experiencia en la gestión y mejora de resultados en operaciones logísticas globales de sitios múltiples. Como vicepresidente global de transporte es responsable de lograr un crecimiento de primera línea y brindar un rendimiento operativo excelente y constante a los clientes en los 6 continentes para la empresa más internacional del mundo. Alastair tiene una licenciatura en estudios empresariales de la Universidad de Sheffield Hallam y una maestría en fabricación y cadena de suministro de la Universidad de Cranfield. Es miembro del Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, que proporciona una plataforma profesional para la creación de redes y la tutoría en la industria de la logística.
Bienvenido, Alastair. Como siempre, un placer y nos emociona mucho escuchar lo que nos vas a compartir. Y bueno, nuestro segundo panelista es Martin Wilmot, cofundador y CEO de DigiHaul. Desde que se graduó de la universidad, la vida laboral de Martin ha girado en torno a la logística. Ha trabajado en expedición global, cadena de suministro internacional y almacenamiento, así como el transporte en sectores como el comercio minorista, el consumo, la automoción y la aviación. Más recientemente, Fue responsable de establecer y hacer crecer la división de soluciones de cadena de suministro para DHL. Una de las grandes pasiones de Martin es fomentar el talento joven y diverso dentro del sector de la logística. Ayudó a dar forma al galardonado programa Future Leaders de DHL, que ha generado una fuente de talento operativo de clase mundial para el futuro de la cadena de suministro. Bienvenido, Martin. Nice to have you here.
No cabe duda que el transporte ha evolucionado de manera acelerada estos últimos meses y seguirá haciéndolo a pasos acelerados. Por ello, espacios como este son fundamentales para mantenerse al día. Sin más, cedo la palabra a Alistair y Martin para su sesión. Adelante.
Thank you, Mariana and Sergio. I'm really excited for the next few days. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the DHL Mexico Transportation Forum 2022. It's great to have so many colleagues, customers and carriers here for the next 3 days to discuss the challenges and opportunities facing transport in Mexico, LATAM and beyond. I'm here in the UK at our driver training facility, but the main themes on the minds of transport customers here resonate across the world and form much of the basis of what will be covered at this forum. They include the drive for sustainability and meeting ESG commitments, addressing scarcity of resources and driver shortages, implementing technology to help with this and improve efficiency and visibility, and hiring the right talent to harness the capabilities that these technologies bring to the table. One of the key aspects of our transport solution is our network of connected control towers. These help our customers to increase visibility and manage capacity, two vital areas of operation. Let's take a look at some of our global connected control towers in action, starting of course with Mexico City. This summer, I was fortunate enough to visit the Mexico City Connected Control Tower. It was a great chance to meet the team and see how our systems and data analytics come together to help keep our customers' transport operations running efficiently. I also had the opportunity to sit down with a couple of members of the team to find out what our customers in Mexico, in particular, are looking for from us. Firstly, I spoke to Hector Lanzagorta, who is Director for Solutions Design in Latin America. He explained how the transport needs of our customers have been changing in the region.
So Hector, how have our customers' needs in transportation really been evolving over the last couple of years?
They've been involved in very different ways. Some sectors, and especially e-commerce related products, have been demanding a lot more transportation, while some others have been struggling with their volumes.
How have we been really helping our customers to meet these changing needs in the market?
I think our main asset is the flexibility we are providing to them, creating some networks to consolidate and improve efficiency while reducing carbon emissions.
Hector, which elements of digitalization are we really focusing on for customers?
I think real-time visibility is one important thing for the customers, and now moving to electronic PODs in order for them to get their invoices faster with their customers is a value added we are providing.
So Hector, one of the topics now is really about, because of the changing needs of the market, customers are probably prepared to be more flexible. So are there things we're doing in that area?
Yeah, in order to increase flexibility for them, we are creating different products, consolidating products, and technology-based in order to reduce the dependency on people and more in systems.
As with other regions across the world, digitalization is also helping customers improve and strengthen their supply chains. Roxana Almaguer Garcia is the Transport Operations Director at the Mexico City Control Tower, and she told me which particular digitalization aspects our customers in country are looking to implement.
So Roxana, which elements of digitalization are particularly important to our customers?
Well, my supply chain is the key, as I mentioned before. We have several tools on all the information that we are getting from our different systems, WMS, OTM. Actually, it's very helpful in order to develop Power BI information, track and tool dashboards. And also there's the part about the visibility that the carriers are providing to us in order to have like a specific service level agreement with them, and also have a back-to-back agreement with the customers. Basically are those the main ideas that I have in mind.
Visibility and efficiency are vital to the running of any supply chain, but there's also been major recent disruption to another crucial element of operations: people. transport operators in many countries around the world have felt the effects of driver shortages over the last couple of years. One of the key ways of tackling this has been to address a lack of diversity in the profession. For example, the European average rate of drivers below 25 years old sits at 7%. The average age of a heavy vehicle driver in Australia is 54. And globally, only around 2% of drivers are women. To find out more, I spoke to Lindsay Bridges, DHL Supply Chain's Global Head of HR. I began by asking her what specific steps DHL has been taking to address driver shortages, how we're developing our skill set within our transport operations, and ultimately keeping our customers' goods on the road. I'm here today talking to Lindsay Bridges, Global Head of HR at DHL Supply Chain, and the topic today is driver shortages in the transportation industry. So Lindsay, great to see you. A question for you up front. So how have we at DHL been working to address driver shortages that are prevalent around the world, particularly for our own drivers and also for subcontractors and carriers that we work with?
Do you know, Alistair, I think driver shortages have been around for quite a long period of time, although it's really probably become much more exacerbated through the pandemic and probably a bit more into the public eye since then. But it's been a priority for us for many years, although to be fair, we have accelerated what we've been doing in the past few years. And I think one of the biggest challenges is that the perception of the industry, it's perceived to be very male dominated, and to be fair, it is. But it's also perceived to have a sort of, long hours, nights away, poor working conditions, lack of career progression. And I think that these days, being a driver in the modern world is really not what people expect it to be. And it can be very, very different. And it doesn't have to be long haul, overnight, nights out driving as one might have thought it was in the past.
So Lindsay, one of the things that I've noticed on my travels to different operations in different countries that's really important is how we're able to welcome drivers to DHL sites to make them feel comfortable in our operations. What are we actually doing to implement that?
I think it's really important, whether a driver is our employee or whether it's a subcontract partner coming into our facilities, that they're made to feel welcome, that they've got a facility that they can use, that they've got access to water and tea and coffee and somewhere to take a break and get out of their cab. So what we've been doing in many countries around the world is just taking a look at our facilities, sense checking what we have available and upgrading those where we've needed to make it a place where it is comfortable for people coming in, whether they're just coming in for a few minutes on a break or whether they've got to wait a little bit longer for their load.
So Lindsay, you mentioned that the driver population is predominantly male. So what are we doing to attract different people to the industry and encourage more diversity?
It's a great question, Alistair, and you're absolutely right. I mean, it's typically a male-dominated industry and typically not an industry that's had a lot of younger people coming into it. The average driver age, they're really in their 40s and 50s, and those people are obviously seeking to retire at some point. There's a lot of things that we've been doing. So in terms of gender diversity, partnering up on events like International Women's Day and using those as focal points to really showcase the female drivers that we do have in our business to really attract others in. Other things that we've been doing, using social media very widely and profiling different diversity lines. Younger drivers from different backgrounds, drivers with a female background, working mums, for example, and really talking about it and using our own people to be ambassadors, if you like, to show that this can be you. You could come and work in this industry. And then, from a really practical point of view, just taking a look at the flexibility and the shift patterns that we can offer. Does every driver's role have to start at 4 o'clock in the morning? No. Some do, of course, but where we can be more flexible, offer shorter shifts, maybe single routes or whatever, being able to advertise that and use that as a selling point to attract different people in. So for me, Alistair, there's no kind of one answer to this. There's a range of levers that we need to pull, and across the globe in our different countries, we're using a variety of these to just diversify a little bit more.
No, I think that's crucially important to make sure that we're working to encourage, more diversity in our driver population to increase our scale there. But there's also a whole team behind those drivers that makes our transport operations run more efficiently. So how are we approaching recruitment in that area, especially considering that those types of roles in the back office of operations are changing quite a lot now.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think not just in transport, but across the logistics industry, the skill sets of people coming in or the skill sets we need to develop are changing because digitalization and technology is playing a big part. I mean, for our drivers, for example, they have access to much better technology in cab today. Things like adaptive cruise control, tools that help them realize when they're getting fatigued and they need to brake, even things like in-cab fridges. All of that makes driving a better role and a better quality of life for them. And as we progress into more of those kind of diagnostics as well, the back office skills, the analytics that we need, those skill sets are going to become increasingly important. And I think that makes it a really interesting career for someone coming out of school or college.
So Lindsay, one thing I think is really important for people when they come into logistics and into transportation as well is to be able to understand where they can progress, where they can go, and where opportunities lie. So what are we doing in that area?
Oh, you're absolutely right, Alistair. I mean, career paths for people coming into transport are really important. And we've done quite a lot of work on that, thinking about what's the skill set that we need to, when someone comes in, say, as a transport planner, and then what do they need to develop to become a transport manager or to become a driver assessor or to develop within the transport field. So we've got quite a number of standardized kind of role profiles, if you like, with attached skills, and people can see, here's what I need to do to make the next step on the ladder. And I think that helps make transport quite important for people who come into that office role, or even drivers who want to come into an office role. And we have quite a number of examples of drivers who come off the road and come in and actually make a career in transport management.
Yeah, and the beauty of working for a company like DHL, being the most international company in the world, as we like to say, there's opportunity to move to different countries and different regions. Have you seen people doing that as well?
I've seen people definitely moving around short term and longer term across different countries and regions. Also seen people moving within the same country but to different sectors, so to broaden their experience. Maybe they've spent a lot of time as a driver or a planner in a busy retail environment, and actually moving into a consumer network or an automotive network is giving them just a different set of customers to work with, and that can be equally exciting for people.
It's clear that working in transport is a great place to be and an exciting time for the supply chain industry as a whole. So thinking specifically about the LATAM region, Lindsay, can you talk a little bit about some of the specific initiatives we have in transport there?
Yeah, LATAM, I would say the most important thing for us actually when it comes to our drivers in particular is safety and security. And a few of the things that we do to really make sure that our drivers and our subcontractors are safe in that environment is make sure that the trucks are tracked with real-time GPS tracking, and also make sure that when we're planning the routes that we really risk assess those so that we're not putting drivers in danger of running out of hours and having to stop somewhere that isn't a sort of safe place for them to stop. So that would be number one there, I think, in our LATAM region.
And we're doing a lot of training in transport for Latin America as well, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. We've invested heavily in training of drivers in that region. As I talked before about the career plans that we have in place, but there's a few specific things that we're doing. We've got a development project for the training of truck drivers who want to move in from kind of light trucks to heavier vehicles. We're running internal training programs covering not just sort of driving techniques and continuous improvement, but safety and security. And we're partnering with a local institution that really helps us with education, training and development for drivers who want to make transport a real way of life. So a lot going on. And we've just launched this Transport Academy. We launched that in September. It's giving drivers and other support staff the chance to get even better training. And that's all about representing DHL to our customers. So huge amount going on in the transport training space in LATAM in particular.
So it's clear there's a lot of things going on in Latin America, and I think HR and transport working together hand in hand is really critical to our success. Thanks so much, Lindsay, for joining me today. It was really great to chat with you.
Thanks, Alistair. Really appreciate it.
Beyond visibility and security, technology, digital tools, and the talent to harness and analyse data are also a key part of the toolkit for helping our customers to meet their ESG commitments. It's a vital consideration for any transport operation, and by 2025 we're committed to significantly reducing our transport CO2 emissions compared to a business as usual scenario. Reducing transport operations is a complex task, but a vital one that will take a global effort. To find out more about what DHL has done so far, what we'll be doing in the future, and how technology is helping us to achieve our goals, I spoke to two of our own experts, Florence Noblo, our Head of ESG Strategy, and Jakob Wegenast, Head of Global Go Green, who took the time to explain what ESG means to DHL supply chain. Hi everybody, it's great to be here today. I'm joined by two great colleagues of mine, Florence Noblo, who's Head of ESG for DHL Supply Chain, and Jakob Wegenast, who's Head of Go Green. And we're going to be talking about ESG and how that relates to transportation. So I'm really excited to talk to the both of you today. First question to you, Florence. So thousands of customers globally have committed to reducing their emissions in line with climate science. And that does include DHL Supply Chain's top customers. So how are we here at DHL helping them to achieve their targets?
Indeed, we have about 70% of our top customers who have committed to transport-related carbon reduction. So we definitely need to help and support them in achieving those goals. And at DPDHL, we have as well committed to reduce our CO2 emission. We are committing to the science-based targets. And our commitment, as an example, is to be below 29 million tons by 2030 on the baseline of 2019. So what we are doing is that we have designed ESG transport solutions which are around CO2 reduction. So indeed, today, through network optimization, we can burn less, but this is not always going to be helping us in burning clean. So what we have done with our solutions, we have been designing them through advanced processes, identify which are the technologies available in which market to really achieve those CO2 reduction, to help and make sure that our customers achieve themselves their reduction, but as well to make sure that they keep a leading position and they can differentiate from others.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks, Florence. I think the technology advancements is a really interesting one. And Jakob, I'd like to turn to you now. So perhaps you could tell us about which Go Green technologies have the most potential to deliver that carbon emission reduction for DHL and also for our customers.
Absolutely. So when we think about the different technologies that we have at our disposal, there are many. And guess what? There is no one-size-fits-all solution. So we really have to focus on market applicability, regulations, and also availability. And there will be different target technologies per region and per country as we are just finding out. So this is about burning clean. I would like to make the point that burning less in general is also extremely important. So for example, by network optimization, co-loading of volumes between different customers, data analytics to reduce the kilometers that are driven, we are making a lot of progress. And this is the best way of decarbonization because it saves money for us, it saves money for the customer, and it even reduces the CO2 footprint.
Great stuff. Thank you, Jakob. I think that's really important. That measurement piece is absolutely critical. So as well as its importance with regard to climate change, improving sustainability is also important to ensure compliance with local laws and regulations. So Florence, how are we at DHL helping our customers to make sure they remain compliant?
Sure. Indeed. I mean, compliance is really important with ESG. At DPDHL, we have actually developed a series of compliance training, such as anti-corruption, code of conduct, competition compliance, data protection. We have as well export controls and sanctions, and we have as well insider trading laws. So those are all mandatory to our executives, and they are really to make sure that we act in accordance to laws and regulations in all countries. And they as well help, of course, in engaging with our suppliers, but as well with our customers to make sure that we all act in this accordance. So But it's not only about, I think it's not only about, compliance and those training. I mean, data are always really key, and we need to make sure that we provide transparency on our data. So we need to provide transparency on how we collect those data, how do we report on ESG targets. So it's all about, what are the measures that we have and the protocol in place to provide such visibility. This is really what it is about.
Oh, super. Thank you, Florence. I think there's really a lot to think about and consider, especially for our customers. So just to take it back a step, Jakob, where do you think the biggest opportunities lie to reduce DHL supply chain's transport emissions? And what actions are we actually taking to take advantage of these possibilities?
Yeah, first, we have to say transport is responsible for 94% of the CO2 emissions of DHL supply chain. So our way to net zero will only work via transport. And here we need to differentiate between our own fleet that we are operating and the subcontracted fleet that our partners, the subcontracted transport carriers, are operating on our behalf. So for our own fleet, we are already heavily investing around the world. In the UK, for example, we are running a pilot with hydro-treated vegetable oils, which is a synthetic biodiesel that decarbonizes our existing fleet. We are also investing into bio-liquefied natural gas vehicles. In Ireland and in the US, we are building up a bio-compressed natural gas vehicle fleet. And in the US, as well as in other countries, for example, in Brazil and Latin America, we are investing into electric vehicles to decarbonize the fleet like that. So there are many things happening all across the world. In our subcontracted fleet, which is responsible for the majority of the CO2 emissions, we have to strongly collaborate with our partners, the subcontracted transport carriers. We are doing this through carrier engagement and, for example, through the DHL Green Carrier certification. And here, it is super important that we enable and encourage our partners, the subcontracted transport carriers, to themselves invest into decarbonization.
Thanks, Jakob. So the development and innovation we're making as a group is really exciting. And I wonder whether, seeing as we're going to be having the Mexico Transportation Forum in a few weeks, if we could talk a little bit more about some of the technology that we're implementing in Latin America specifically. I was in Mexico a few weeks ago and got the chance to see some of the electric vehicles that we've got for urban delivery. But I know there's lots of other technology that we're working on. Perhaps you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I think one fantastic initiative that we've seen is in Brazil. They are now investing in close to 120 electric vehicles, which is really quite significant for the country. But I think, for me, as head of ESG, because it's not only E, it's as well the S, what I've been amazed as well is to see that they've been able to hire ladies to drive those EVs. And I think this is as well a great and fantastic initiative that we should all not only be proud of, but I think see how we can replicate across the regions.
Yeah, a perfect example that you shared, Florence and Alistair, to mention a couple more details on the urban delivery with EVs in Mexico that you just mentioned. Not only are the EVs emission-free, we are also charging them with electricity that comes from solar panels. And we are not only looking at CO2 reductions, but also at increased service levels for our customers, because emission-free vehicles do not have any driving bans when there is air pollution in the city. So a really cool example of how a green fleet doesn't only reduce CO2, but actually enables superior customer service. Another example is shifting volumes from road to rail in Mexico, which we are doing, enabling us to reduce CO2 emissions by 27%, so a massive amount. And last but not least, another project to mention is a TMS-based CO2 reporting pilot that we are currently running in LATAM. So we are not relying that much on assumptions anymore when doing our CO2 reporting, but on TMS data that identifies the exact type of vehicle that has been used for a delivery. And this does not only work, so we do not only have a proof of concept, which we are trying to roll out in other countries now as well, we are also seeing that CO2 emissions are actually going down because more efficient vehicles are actually being used for the delivery than we assumed in the first place.
Thanks for that. I think that's really interesting in terms of the technology. I think what's critical around this agenda is the pace of change, how quickly we can make this happen. And one of the real enablers for this, as we've seen in all regions, is around the infrastructure. So do you have any thoughts on what needs to happen for that infrastructure to be in place to let a lot of this technology come to life?
Absolutely, and it's a great question that we are dealing with in all of the geographies. Actually, I mentioned earlier, there is no one-size-fits-all solution, and in any market, there are certain technologies that work and others that don't work. Particularly in LATAM, all of the EV distribution is largely in vans and urban areas. But to really enable a step change in reducing CO2, we need to go into the long-haul segment. And for that, a fast charging infrastructure with clean electricity is extremely important. So by us going into the market and investing into EVs and into a charging infrastructure, we can also stimulate the market and be the leader of this development, particularly in LATAM.
Thank you very much for that, Jakob. I think that's really interesting, and also to talk about the technology and the benefits of that, but also some of the challenges that we do face and we want to overcome. Thank you to you and also to Florence for your time today. It's been a really great discussion, and I look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thank you.
Now more than ever, we, our customers and carriers, are operating in a volatile world. Disruptions to our supply of materials, people and transport resources are a constant and have really brought into focus the need for robust, flexible and resilient operations. Over the next few days, you'll have the opportunity to discuss and reflect on what this means for Mexico and the Latin America region as a whole. There's no denying there's plenty of current challenges with more on the horizon, but there's also a wealth of opportunities for us to work together and ensure our transport operations are stronger than they have ever been before. Thank you again for joining us on this forum. We're delighted to be working with you. I hope you enjoy the next few days, and I'll hand you back over to Mariana and Sergio.
Querido Alistair, muchísimas gracias por esta maravillosa presentación. No podíamos pedir un mejor arranque para el Transportation Forum 2022. Nos queda claro que en DHL Supply Chain seguimos liderando el sector y abordando los retos para ofrecer soluciones únicas a nuestros clientes.
Gracias a todos los que nos han acompañado en línea en esta sesión. Los invitamos a seguir pendientes de todas las presentaciones del día.
Y los esperamos en el siguiente panel acerca del transporte en DHL Brasil. Los invitamos también a un breve break para que vuelvan con la batería bien cargada para esta sesión que con certeza nos dará aprendizajes únicos. Nos vemos en breve.